Hello, my name is Vishal. In this video tutorial, we will see the next set of tools, which is direct selection tool and the group selection tool. The selection tool was generally used to select and transform it. So unlike that, so we have this direct selection tool, which is basically used specially for the paths which you have created. And in paths, to select the anchor points, this tool can be used. Just you need to just select that point and then you can move it, and it is generally useful in helping modifying the shape of that particular path you have created. And apart from that, when you have selected that particular point, you have certain options popping up on the tool, on the properties here. So you can get that on the top here, or you can get on this side. So just let's say here this point is generally a corner point, which I can convert into a smooth point here. So you have two options. The one is the corner and another one is the smooth. So this particular point is smooth right now, so you can convert into a corner, and vice versa. You can also do from this particular place here, convert it, and also you can generally edit that particular handle to get that shape into, and I mean sort of modifying it. Okay, so when you have selected multiple points, okay, and then let's say if this is a smooth handle, you can actually make the points to be, the handle should display should can be off, switched off by this particular feature here. So you can show on handles when you are it generally works when you have selected multiple anchor points. That's one thing. And you have this um, minus button on the pen tool, which generally removes the anchor point. First you need to select that point and then click that button, and you have removed that particular anchor point here. Okay, you can also make this particular shape. Let's say I will just first select that particular shape and then make a outline here. Okay, and I'll increase the outline for you. Okay, so we have this particular shape here. So I'm selecting the direct point there, and then here I just click this button, and then I select the direct tool, and then if you see, I've opened up that particular point here. So you can generally keep this shape as closed shape or open shape. So I've made a closed shape into an open one. Let's say if I select this particular point, which is at one end of the curve, and I select the other one, then you can use this button to actually fill it. Okay, so that is these two buttons or options here are used for. So you can select that and then just cut it, and then you can generally move them. And you want to close them, you can select both of them and click this button, which will close that points for you. And I select all the anchor points there, or maybe I select 1, 2, 3, 4, and then make it into corner. Okay, so once that is done, here we have this corner option, which whose radius is 0 mm right now. So I increase that radius, and then what you see is that all hard corners becoming round. You can select this particular circle there, a dot there, and drag it further. It's not really working because it has been locked, because of the other points were reached its maximum area of radius, because it's affecting the next point there. So I just select that, and then you can make it more round if you wanted it to be like that. Okay, so I select this particular star. I just first move it. outside, and then enable the outline, increase the outline there, then select the point and then just drag it so it becomes round there. Okay, so that particular radius can be controlled here in the direct selection tool. Just need to just select that point, okay, and then increase the radius, and that radius will become bigger. And you can also select the type of that bevel, I can say, into something like that or into a straight line. I select this point here. Before that, again I select the shape, make the outline to black, increase the thickness so that you can clearly see, select that point and then drag it. You see that's becoming round. So you can generally select that into this, and then just a minute, select that point, increase that radius. Okay, you can change that point to different types here. Okay, so you can just pull it further more and then it becomes more rounder. So these are few options what you have for this direct selection tool. We have align options outside, and we can generally, as I told, I'll cover align tools in another video. So we have align and distribute features there, and we have one more interesting option here for it, which is basically when we select a particular point, you have you can just modify its X position and Y position, okay, like that. So instead of just manually moving it, okay, you can generally use the values in that area. So I select all these points here. Okay, so you have multiple shapes. We have got something here. So here this is one shape, this is another one, this is another one. Okay, so there are 1 2 3 4 different shapes we have created. So when I select all of them, right click and then just say group. So what generally happens is whenever you select, it moves on one single piece. Okay, so which is very useful when you are making a illustration, a complex cartoon character or illustration of something. So you might have used lot of shapes here. So let's say if I want to move this blue color shape, what I have to do is I need to right click, ungroup and then move it. So that's one way you can do it. So rather I would select all of them, make it a group. Now you can go here and then select group selection tool. Group selection tool is a great way of selecting one particular object, okay, even though it is in group. Generally, as I told you, when I am in group, I generally move it like that as one piece. But if I have to move only the green part, I need to ungroup and move it. Instead of doing that, use this tool and then just get it done. So that's a great way to handle this, just like that. So generally it's a selection tool only, but it works when you have group in it. That's the only thing about this particular tool. In this video, let's have a look on draw tools in Illustrator. So draw tools are basically used to create basic primitive shapes. So we have a set of tools here, which is rectangle tool, rounded rectangle, ellipse tool, polygon tool, star tool and flare tool. Okay, so if I just go here into this rectangle tool and just start drawing something, you get a shape here which is basically a rectangular form, and you have a lot of settings on the top about that particular tool, and then you have things to change here, which is basically color, and there you go. So while you are drawing this tool, we have certain things we can generally apply, and then take control over the way it is drawn. So I'll take the rectangle tool first, and then I just hold shift while I'm dragging, and then you have this rectangle created, and this rectangle has got all sides equal, which means you are creating a square. Let me try it once again. So generally when you drag it normally, it's rectangle, but when you draw by holding shift, you get a square there. And while I'm drawing this square, if I hold space bar, I can able to move that space bar wherever I wanted to place it, and I can leave it there. And you can also select that and then move later also, that's not a big deal, but while you were drawing it, and you can generally use a space bar. And if I place a cursor at the center, if you see I've enabled the snapping options, so you get that snap points highlighted. So now I'm in the center by holding Alt, and then when I draw the shape which I have created, its center is now in the center of the canvas, and when I hold shift, then I get the square, and this square is precisely sitting in the center of the canvas. And there you go. You also have this particular point here, which you can click and drag it to create a rounded corner. Alternately, you can hold Alt and click on that and change the shapes to inverse of that, or sometimes the straight. Generally you call it as bevel in some applications. So you can hold just Alt and make that rounded corner inverted or straight bevel corners of that particular shape. You can also hold click on the shape tool, and then you can control all that options related to the shape you have created. For example, right now it is width and height. I can just change that, and then I can make it bigger. You can also enter a value by keyboard to get a precise shape. And while you're scrolling, I mean I'm just using the middle mouse scroll. When I'm holding shift, I'm getting an increment of 10. Okay, if I'm holding control, I'm getting the decimal scroll there, and when I'm holding Alt or normally, I'm getting the integer scroll there. And the shape which you have created, if I hold Alt and drag, okay, then you get a copy of that. So you can generally scale it even after you have created. So let me try it once again. So I'm just holding shift, drawing a square, and then click on that and then control it. Or I can just interactively control the shapes like that. If I'm right now in the rectangle tool and click anywhere in this canvas, then you get a rectangle box related settings where you have the width and height options. Set that values. I'm putting a value of 125 here, and I'm putting a value of 150, and then when I hit enter, then you get the shape which is basically of that particular measurements. Okay, so that's how you can create a simple rectangle tool. You also have this rounded rectangle, which is basically the same thing which you have created, just it has that roundness inbuilt in it, that's it. Apart from that, it is same as the square or rectangle tool. It also has a shape options here where you can control them. So I can switch off this lock button and then change the radius of that particular corner. and also I can change the way it is by clicking the presets there. So you get a unique shape there um, with the same rounded rectangle. Okay, so that extra control is giving me a new shape altogether. You can also rotate here if you wanted. Just rotate that and then you go. So if you are holding Alt while changing the value, it makes a copy for every change. So that was I was getting in the earlier time. So try to avoid holding Alt while you're changing the numbers. So you have one more tool here, which is the Ellipse tool. When I'm dragging it, it gives a shape in basically egg shape or elliptical shape generally. So if you want to create a circle out of it, then you need to hold shift and then you get a circle. So I was telling you that if I just wanted to create multiple shapes and you wanted them to align properly, so I just taken the rectangle tool, okay, and I'm just holding Alt and then holding shift and then dragging it. So it creates a square precisely sitting in the canvas. So now I'm going to select the ellipse tool and I'm going to change just a minute. Okay. Now I'm holding Alt and again it shows up me the center and then hold shift, and then if you see I'm drawing a circle which is precisely sitting in the center of the square, and it is how it is. You can just go and click there and you have width options, the roundness options and all. And something really cool about this circle is you have this shape where you can generally hold and then control the shape there. So you don't know how much the angle here is, then you can always enter the values precisely and then you can get precise number there. While you are just clicking, when you're dragging this, if you hold, so if you see here, I've just got this option where I can click this and then I can switch the shape to the inverse of what we have got here. So circle has got this unique setting here, unique option here. You can generally use it and then achieve that pie shapes out of it. And we have Polygon tool. Polygon is basically a triangle, a quad, a pentagon. So a closed shape which has got a number of line segments. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a new color here so that you can see a distinctive shape. So I'm again holding Alt and then dragging it, and you should see I got a six-sided shape here. And when I'm just dragging it, I need to press arrow button and then increase or decrease the number of sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift so that it is if you see when I'm holding shift, it generally switches to the correct alignment, and then I can just place it in the center there. Okay, and then you go. So if I click the shape button, you have all that settings which you can generally try it. Okay, and you can also rotate if you wanted it to be. And that's a polygon tool for you. And you can also make them round, and then you can maybe switch and you can also reduce the sides. And you see while doing this exercise or learning tools itself, you're making a unique shape here. Okay, now we got the star tool. I'm going to use a star tool and then click and drag here, and you should see this star has got so many points and it has got something. So I'm just holding space and then space, and then I'm able to bring it in the middle. Okay, so before going into that, let me try a white color this time, and I'm going to hold Alt and then draw the star. Okay, And then if I hold control while drawing the star, just a minute, I'm using arrows to reduce the points there. Just a minute, I'll repeat it again. So I'm drawing a star holding Alt and then increasing it, and I'm just holding. Now it's working, you should see. I'm holding the control, and the teeth size of the star or the ray size of the star is controlled, and I'm holding shift to precisely align it. And then you can also increase the number of teeth you wanted, and then you can increase the, okay, there you go. So you can if you see here, we don't have that setting for the star, it's missed out here, it's not there for this. I select it, and then I can use arrange, send it to back, or bring it forward, bring it forward. I should see you got a very nice shape which I have created just by learning these tools here. Now we have the flare. I just click and drag. You got a lot of rays. You can use arrow button here to reduce a number of rays which you got. You can increase that, and then click it at different place. Then you have this nice ray. Let's see, explore some more tools which are related to creating shapes. So the first is the line segment tool. It's basically just a line segment creation. Yes, we need to click anywhere, and then you get the properties of the line segment, starting from the measurement and the angle. And then when we say OK, we get a line here where we have clicked it. Alternately, you can also create click and drag way, and then you get a line segment. This line segment's thickness can be controlled. You can make a thicker line also. Apart from that, when you are drawing a line, okay, if you hold shift, then you can possibly create this line at 0 degrees, 45 degrees and 90 degrees alignment. I'm selecting these points and just deleting them. So while I'm creating these line segments, wherever I've clicked and dragged, if I'm holding Alt, you're getting a line segment from that center going out. Okay, or not the line segment. If you see, I'm clicking here, the start point is here and the end point is where I've ended up that. But when I just hold Alt, you get the opposite side line segment also. You can hold shift and create a precise 45 degrees there. I'm deleting this line segment and I'm just creating more. So I'm holding, I'm just placing the cursor at this point, click and hold shift and drag a line segment there. You can do that again. Hold shift after clicking, then you get a line segment there. So that way you can just create a very precise angled line segment there, and then you got something like a graph. Okay, so this is line segment tool, and I am just deleting them. Let me try a arc tool. So I'm just holding, I just click there and then drag it, then you get an arc here. Okay, when I'm using arc again, you can just press the up arrow key and the down arrow key to increase or decrease the arc there between that two selected points. Again, when I hold Alt, generally if I just click and drag, you see that's a point where it's starting the arc. If I hold Alt, that becomes the center point of that arc. Okay. While I'm just creating this, you can also hold space and then move it anywhere you wanted to move that. You can increase or decrease the angle. You have the spiral tool. I'm just holding at the center and just clicking and dragging it. So when I'm holding Alt, I'm controlling the spirals there. And when I'm holding the Control, you're controlling the decay of that spiral. Okay, these are the two things you can control. You can also use arrow buttons here to increase the coils of that spiral as you go there. I mean, you can increase that spirals inside. So if I hold Control, you're controlling the decay of that, and hold Alt, you control the number of spirals there. You can try the other shapes also. We have a rectangular grid tool. So just drag that grid. If I hold Shift, it gives me square. And then firstly I need to control the number of rows and number of columns here. And then hold Shift and then hold space and then move it anywhere and then place it. So that's the rectangular grid. You have polar grid, and in that you have the radius which you're controlling here. You can make a smaller one or a bigger one, and you have you can use arrows up and down, increase and decrease the number of circles, and left and right arrow is used to add number of radial lines there. So hold Shift to make a circular shape and then spacebar to place it in the center. All these particular shapes what you are creating, their line thickness can be controlled, and also you can change their color to whatever you wanted, and also you can control their strokes the way you wanted them to be. So I'm enabling the dashed lines, and you get the dashed lines result. So you go. So this dashed lines thing and the line segment thing, for all of them you could see it works. I can go to the stroke. You can create an arrowhead for this, and also you can create the arrow base. You have some preset shapes, you can pick something from them like that, and you can also control their size if you wanted. So I'm making them smaller. I'm reducing the scale value there. You can also swap you can swap the arrowhead in any direction, and also you could see there's a point here, so that is where the total illustration ends, but you can say that the arrowhead should locate at that particular point. So that's something you have here. So you can create different types of shapes here, and also you can try using different strokes on them like that. So there is a dotted line thing, I just remove it, and also I can change the color. I'm taking a blue one and increase the radius there, so you could see the stroke there. So it has changed because I have changed the stroke type there, so get that here. So this is what a few of the tools we have got. Let's have a look on the pen tool in Illustrator. So pen tool is just basically used to draw shapes which are generally not primitives, unlike, say for example, if you have to create a rectangle, you can just click and drag with this particular tool. But if you have to create a custom shape, which is not a primitive shape or any shape which is geometrical by nature. So if you have to create a custom illustration which is like sort of drawing something, then you have to use this pen tool. So pen tool is seen here in this toolbar. So pen tool icon is very much showing up the pen nib there, and I can access it by pressing P on the keyboard, and then I can able to draw the shapes. So to draw this shape, the thing I need to do is just click anywhere in this canvas. So just clicking gives me an anchor point there. So when I'm dragging my mouse, I could see this line extending up where my mouse is moving. So if I click there, again you have dropped another anchor point. Then again you can place another anchor point. Generally here the snap options are on, so if not you may not get precise angle. But if after having snap options on or off, and if you want to really place it at the 90 degrees, you can just hold shift and then you can place this point at an angle of 90 degrees or 45 degrees. Okay, so just you need to click there, then you get a point there. So you have created a open shape because this line what I have created is not closed here. I mean, I need to just close it here. So if I hold my point and then click on the last the first anchor point, the shape will be closed there, and I'll show it clearly here by changing the color to black and then increasing the point there, and you should be able to see this shape is closed shape. Alternatively, you can create an open shape. I'm using the pen tool again, click, and when I'm clicking and dragging, you could able to see I'm getting this nice handles which are basically tangent handles, and I can click it again and then you get a nice arc there. So if I want to stop this drawing here, hold Control and click anywhere in the canvas, and you have created an open shape, and you should see that black line is not there. And if I, let's say, click on this particular point by holding or just click on that point, and then again if I click on the start point, the shape will be completed. You can hold Control and then drag that point anytime you are creating it. And if you select any particular anchor point, you can convert that into a sharp corner, or you can make it a smooth tangent curve, and you can hold this particular handle by holding Control and then just modify it, okay, like that. So you can make a smooth corner there. If I hold Control and drag, that particular path will be dragged from there. I'll show you by adding more points here. Defaultly, once you have created the closed shape and still you are in the pen tool, if you click anywhere on the curve, you are adding more points there. Okay, now I was telling that if I hold shift and drag it, that path will be modified, right, like that. Just you're holding that path and just dragging it like that, simple. This is the path you have created. The path which you have created, its color can be modified there. And you can also change the color of the stroke, and also you can reduce the stroke thickness. Sorry. Okay, there you go. So you should see that I have created a simple shape. So while I'm using this pen tool, if I hold shift, I can add a new shape to that. Okay. So you can keep on adding shapes there to existing drawing. So pen tool is basically used to create the shapes which are not readily available as primitives. You have the tools here which are add anchor point tool, which will basically allow you to add more points on the curve, while delete anchor point tool will allow you to delete the points there, like that. Okay. And the last one is the anchor point tool, which you can generally hold and modify them like that. You can use a keyboard shortcuts, that is plus to add points, or minus to remove the points, P to draw the pen tool, and then Shift C is used to hold the anchor point tool. So you have all that options there. You have a tool here called curvature tool. You can use that, click, and then you have added a point. You need to click, and then you have added a point. Now after that, when you drag your cursor based on the position of that first, second and third points, you get a curved shape there, and then you can create a shape which is basically round. It is basically a pen tool, but sort of deciding itself on the curvature based on the next click what you're doing. Like that. So you can use that alternatively instead of pen tool, but pen tool has got more control while you're drawing custom shapes. In this video, let's have a look on the shaper tool. Shaper tool is basically available here in the toolbox. You can use a keyboard shortcut of Shift N and then get it. So shaper tool is basically used to create shapes with just scribbles. For example, if I want to create a circle, then just I scribble in a circular shape and you get the circle shape. So, and if you want a square or a rectangle, then you need to scribble accordingly, and you can create a triangle. So you can get all that primitive shapes which you wanted. So while you are in the shaper tool, you can click and select, and then you can arrange the tools according to your requirement, like that. Just you need to place it and then transform it like that. So I've just arranged this shapes which I have created here. Let's say you want to add any particular shape into existing one, just draw from outside and then inside. So it will create a shape in that, and again you can place it there. But if you when you hover the cursor, you could see the dotted lines where shapes are getting overlapped. So if you just hold and then drag it, just scribble in this area like that, and then that shape will be gone. So you're subtracting it from that. Okay. So you can generally remove any part of the shape like that, and then you can create a compound shape. And This is a very great way to achieve some complex shapes, like just a compound shapes, I can say. So it's a very simple way of achieving it. And you know, if you are in the shaper tool, and then when you just hover the cursor and then click the shapes, you can transform it. Sorry, select that, and you can adjust the shape even you have created it, but you need to be in the shaper tool there. Not only that, if you have created any shape using the primitives like rectangle, polygon, etc., and let's say I'm just drawing a rectangle, just let me select that, change the color. Okay, now I'm using ellipse, then place it. Just on it. Okay, so you can create a lot of shapes here, like star and all. Okay, not working here. Just rotate it. Okay, so now you can use the shaper tool, and then again it works the same way. You can just subtract things. Okay, like that, and you can draw, extend the shapes like that. As I told you, I can add any primitive, select them, modify them, and subtract them, add them, whatever you want. So it's a great way to create some or generate some illustration ideas using the shaper tool. It's a very awesome tool to get shapes. Explore this tool to create fantastic infographics or illustrations or logos. It's fun to do this tool. Let's have a look on this pencil tool. Pencil tool is available in the toolbar here. You can just hold the shaper tool and then expand and find the pencil tool here. So you could see there's a keyboard shortcut N here. So select that particular tool, and then just in the viewport, in the canvas, just click and start dragging it. So the way you move the cursor, it starts creating a shape there. And if I generally wanted to make a close shape, you can just bring it till there and it becomes a close shape. It's basically a freehand tool where it's like just like a pencil, you just scribble on the canvas and then you get the shapes the way you wanted them to be. And while you are drawing this particular or using this particular shape, what you need to do is, like when I'm just freehandly drawing it, when I'm holding shift, it gives me a straight line, and then again you can use shift and then it gives that. So it also gives a 45-degree angle. Just you need to move the cursor, that's it. And there you go, you got a nice shape. And also you can generally, while you're moving this, when I hold Alt, the point where you press your Alt, from there you get the cursor till the place where you drag it and release the button, it gives me the shape. Just you need to, like while you're drawing, just hold Alt and then release Alt, hold Alt, release Alt. So it's great way to draw straight lines. Not I mean, the difference is like when I'm just holding shift, it's drawing either parallel or perpendicular or 45-degree. There are three possibilities here. But in alt, while I was drawing, okay, the angle is free to me. Okay. Okay, so you can create straight lines and the angle is precisely in your control. You can also fill them later if it's a closed shape. So pencil tool is a simple tool to draw the shapes, unlike your shaper tool. Let's have a look on this smoother tool here. Just go to this shaper tool and then see there's a tool called smooth tool. So before exploring that, I'll just use this pencil tool. Just create a very jittery line and then you get a curve here. Now let's use the smooth tool. Just smooth tool works to, the idea is to relax this stress or sharpness or creases in this line, and it just smoothens the curve here. So to do that, I need to just drag on the vertex points here, and then it generally smooths the curve. Like that. So it's generally just to relax the line. That's how it works. I'll just see if I can try something on this. Close the shape. Let me see the smooth tool. And you see that's generally affecting the hard corner shapes. It works basically on the hardness of the curve. Generally when a curve is smooth, it doesn't really show any effect, but if it is hard, it tries to make it smooth. And again you can change the color as regular. Let's have a look on this particular tool called path eraser tool. So then, as the name, it generally erases the path. So what is a path basically? Let's say you have created a shape using a pen tool, and then you got something here, and let's say this particular path has color. So what I do is I just go to this path tool. So before that, make sure that you have selected it, and then choose the path tool, and then just click and drag on the curve, and it starts erasing the path there. So just you need to click and drag there, that's it. So if you see the shape has been deselected and it's not working here, make sure that it is selected and then you are erasing it. It got deselected because I just clicked outside the area. Okay, so it's a tool which generally erases a part of the curve. Join tool. For that, I need to create a path here. So I'm taking the pen tool here and just drawing a shape, which is basically just open. Okay, so you got this shape here. I'm just trying to rotate it. Now let's draw another shape which is very close to this. and then again I just end up there. So I select both of these particular shapes here and then choose the join tool. Join tool can be found in the shaper tool. Click and hold, and the last tool is join tool. Just click and drag it. Just click and drag it and it just closes the shape here. And you should see it's a simple curve, a closed one. So join tool is basically used to close that edges which are there on the sides, which are open. Basically they are not attached. Eraser tool, scissors and knife. So for that we need a shape here. So I'll take a basic rectangle shape and then draw it there. So the eraser tool basically is the first tool. You can use Shift E to access it. So I'm selecting that eraser tool. It's a brush. Basically I can increase or decrease the brush size just by using the bracket signs, okay, on the keyboard. So increase or decrease the brush size and just drag it over it. And when you drag it, the shape is erased, but it also creates the path the way you are erasing it. So it is generally used to create some patterns like that using the eraser tool. So it not only creates a shape, it's basically used to erase the shape like that. So it's a very nice tool to achieve complex thing in a simple way. The next tool what we have here is, okay, we'll just first create a shape here again. So the next tool is the scissors tool. Scissors tool is generally used to cut the path. So what you need to do is I'll just first select the shape and increase the stroke so that you could see it clearly. Now I select the scissors tool and then click on the anchor point there like that, or you can also click on the stroke anywhere, and then if you select, you have separated the path like that. So that is a scissors tool. And you have a knife tool. Just you need to select and then just drag it over like that, and then you have created the shape. Okay, now if you select them, you can generally separate it like that. Okay, though we have a transform tool and then we can rotate the objects, we have a rotate tool separately here, and we can access this tool by a keyboard shortcut R. Just you need to click anywhere in the canvas, click and drag, and then the object gets rotated. So here there is an anchor point. You can shift that anchor point and then you rotate the object, and the transformation applies from that point. So I just put that transformation, that anchor point at the edge of this petal. Make sure that so now I just click and drag it, and then you get a rotation there. As you know that to make a copy of an object while transforming, if you hold Alt, you get a copy there. So you can use this idea, and then you can constantly duplicate the objects there. So I can just hold and then press Alt. We have other tools to achieve this in a smarter way, but this exercise is just to practice this rotate tool, so you can use this. There might be better ways to do this radial symmetry. So just you need to rotate it and then hold Alt, rotate it, hold Alt, and then you get a nice arrangement of leaf petals which are radially distributed. In this method you can just slightly randomize the placement, which can look more organic. Like sometimes you can put more gap, sometimes you can overlap them like that. So that's why it looks pretty nice. So radial symmetry is achieved with this tool, which is basically used to rotate the objects. Sometimes, let's say if you have done half of the objects and then you want to mirror the other part of the symmetry, I can say. So in that case you can basically use this reflect tool, or you can use a keyboard shortcut O. Okay, before selecting that tool, make sure that you have selected the objects there and then choose the reflect tool. Okay, for that you need to click it 2 times. One, I put the anchor point, and there I click a point, so that becomes the mirror axis. So you need to click first and then click there, and then you get the mirror of the object. So when I'm applying this object is getting flipped to the opposite side, but you can just click, and when I click that second point, I need to hold Alt, then you get a copy of that, then you can get a flip of that particular half. Even generally, let's say you made a nice floral design, and you have only 1/4 part of it, then also you can generally use this mirror tool. So you need to select the mirror, click the center, and then here, and then you hold Alt, and then that becomes a mirror. Then you select all of them, select the reflect tool, click there, and then click here, hold Alt, and then you get a copy. So it generally gives you the radial symmetry in a easier way. Generally in this particular leaf petal pattern, it might not look great as you expected, but there are some other designs where this will seamlessly looks good. So these two are fantastic tools to transform and mirror, rotate and reflect the objects. Let's have a look on the scale tool very similarly. So if you could see here, we got the scale tool. I can use as a shortcut to access that. So what I do is first I select all that petals which were arranged with the rotation tool. And now what I do is I press S on the keyboard to get the scale tool access, and then just drag it, and then you get the scale tool working. Let's say if I hold shift and drag left and right, so it only scales the width of that particular shape. Now if I hold shift and drag vertical, so it scales only in the y-axis. And if I hold shift and drag in the corner, that gives a proportional scaling. So you got this scale tool. Now what I need to do is I need to first hold shift, drag it small, and then once you achieved a particular scale, hold Alt and then release, and that gives you a copy. Now you can apply rotation, so press R and then just slightly rotate that leaf petal. Then again use the scale tool, and when I'm scaling it, I need to hold shift to get the proportional scaling, and then press Alt to get a copy, press R and then rotate it there. And then again as for scale, hold shift and drag it, hold Alt to get a copy, then press R to rotate, and then arrange it like that. So if you see, you have created a beautiful arrangement of leaf petals which looks sort of marigold flower. You can generally reduce the stroke thickness at a time because it was looking too strong. So Scale tool is basically, helping me to arrange that with different size but concentric. And we have also got a shear tool. You can just select that shear tool, just click anywhere in the canvas and drag left and right, so that becomes sheared. I can also do vertically so that I can get the vertical shear. And if you want to get precise value while doing all this, what you need to do is double click and then you can enter the value there. It works for all the tools, like whether you are using a rotation tool, you're using reflect tool, or you're using the scale tool or the shear tool. Okay, so that's how these transform tools are useful. Apart from that, you can use your regular transform tool, which does the same job for you. Let's have a look on few tools which is there here in the toolbar, starting from the width tool to the wrinkle tool. So I've used these tools here just to create this simple abstract illustration. So let's get started with that. So I have these tools, the shapes which I've created with the primitives. So I just delete them, and then let's start creating a simple sphere. So I'm using the ellipse tool and then just drag a circle. Okay, so I hold the shift and then I've just created that. So I'll be selecting a red color there for the body, and then I'll just choose a black color stroke. I also increase the stroke width, and you got this here. So you can select the stroke width and then you can modify the shape here. You could see it looks more stylized, like sort of using a nib pen and then getting that style of variation thickness. You can try using different types of presets what you have got here. Just need to select that and change it. So you can also reset that by choosing the uniform tool, uniform preset. So what I'm going to do here is go to the width tool, use Shift W as a keyboard shortcut. So select that and then hover your cursor on the curve, click and drag, and then you can modify the width there. You can generally add as number of the width tool options like that, and then try to make it more uniform. So I am reducing the width and it overall multiplies the thickness from here. So you can also change that color to something else, like instead of black, I've changed it to a dark red, and I just scale it small. Okay, so this is something which I've achieved with the width tool. But going closer, you can generally select the width tool and then you can double click and control that width related options here in the dialog box. So you can increase the width of one tangent handle, or you can do that on the opposite side here. You can lock that and then you can change the width there. Okay, so when I'm adjusting the width here, the width of that curve is affecting while the other anchor points are not getting affected. So if I just enable adjust adjoining width, so when I increase the width of this handle, see what happens to these handles here. So it's increasing the thickness of the other handles also. So if I switch off that, and then it will affect only that particular handle. And if I add another line here and then put tight close to that, and then if you see, I've got a very sharp cut there. Okay, so if you double click that particular point, then you get the width tool with dialog box whose settings, 2-point settings are popped up here, like because they are at the same location. That happens only when the 2 points are extremely close or at the same location. Like here, this one is here, and here this one is here, right? So if I generally select that and just put to that same location, double click, then you get the two handles control there. Okay, so that's the width tool for us. So I'm going to select this, okay, and then hold Alt and then scale it down, and then switch off the width and then change the color to something lighter. Or maybe I can change this color, sorry, to something blue, and then light blue. Okay, and this one so I just created some abstract shape which is in circular shape, and got something just to create something random. Yeah, and then I scale it down and then just put it like that. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a circle, okay, and then move it back, like that. Okay, okay, so what I'm going to do here is change the color to red, and then I can just place it like that. I just change the width, and then let me choose the rotate tool, move the anchor point, there, and then rotate it just to get that starting point. Okay, that's cool. So we have some tools here, something like crystallize, and then when you click, then you get this. Okay, just if I double click it, you have certain controls. Okay, you can set the intensity to 50 and add details to 4, and then click, and that will be a little bit more intense. So I'm not doing on this side, like I'm doing it here, and if I double click, you have the width, height, angle, and intensity, which is basically controlling the brush dimensions. Okay, so if I want to change the brush size, I hold Alt and drag it. So you see the width is increased, and if I do it vertical, the height will be increased. Okay, if I hold Shift, the overall radius increases. So this brush radius, width, and height dimensions can be controlled here. So when you have non-proportional brush, Okay, let's say I have this brush which is elliptical, so I can change the angle of that to 45, and then you get this brush here. Okay, so double click and then put 50, 50, and then angle can be 0, and then maybe I can choose 150, 150. So I can choose that and increase the strokes, the brush size there. The intensity is how much fast this effect is shown in the result. Click that and then you get like something like this. Okay. Very similarly, you have scallop tool which pulls everything into the center, and the same thing will be there for the scallop tool. You have complexity and details, which is basically I'll show it in the crystallize. So you have complexity and detail. So when you apply that, you see 1, 2, 3 points are given. When I increase the detail, then you could see the number of points what we have got have increased there. So I just increase the detail here to 2, complexity back to 1, and then when I increase that, you can see that again the number of pulls what you have got here have increased. So 1, I got only this. When I increase the details to 3 or 4, then you get more number of points coming out here. So like that. So just keep it simple for now. And we have this bloat tool. Bloat tool generally pushes everything outside the stroke. Whatever is the center, it pushes outside. Okay, again you have the same things, so you can reduce the intensity of the bloat, okay, with the detailing. So intensity is the amount of stroke, the detailing of that, when I just push that, the way the shapes are getting affected is controlled. So you have the plucker tool, which is basically opposite of that bloat tool. Okay, so plucker will push everything to the center. You see, in single click everything came. So I need to reduce the intensity, and then the effect is quite minimal. Okay, and you have a tool which basically makes all this stroke rotate like that. So that gives a, so when I choose this 12 rate is negative. If I increase this to positive, the rotation will be opposite side. Okay, like that. And we have warp tool, where you can select and then sculpt that overall shape. Like that, the warp tool. Then we have a wrinkle tool. Wrinkle tool have vertical, horizontal complexities. So just when you click that, that becomes more jittery or noisy, like that. It looks like a more vector blood splash or water splash there. It looks nice. So you can just explore these tools and create something crazy here. Now I select that stroke and then make a couple of copies. Okay, and then change the color to arrange, bring forward, double click and give a different color. So you see, we just created something abstract, and also you can use this warp tool and then just randomize the shapes like that. Okay, I have something more interesting here, so I select the polygon tool and then just okay, take it back, bring forward, and then I'm adding a black stroke. I'll increase the stroke there, and then I use this crystallize tool and then do this. You see that it creates a nice bubble background to it, generally what you see in comics. Okay, maybe I can scale it big, and then I think the stroke is not really helping. I just select some dark color stroke, reduce the stroke thickness, okay, and then I use a radial gradient, and then I increase cyan, magenta, and then create that blue, increase cyan, and reduce everything. That's awesome. Like that. So sky is the limit, and you can explore more such possibilities here, and explore these tools to create something crazy in terms of design. And see you. Let's have a look on some tools here which are basically used to transform the object. We have free transform tool and we have a puppet warp tool. So just let's explore these tools. Generally, when we have this selection tool, by default you get a transform tool here where you can scale that object. You can just rotate them and move them. So moving, rotating and scaling is basically called transformation. So we have a exclusive tool here which is a free transform tool. So if you just see, we have this handles used to rotate the object. We can generally scale the object vertical, width-wise, okay, and you can basically move it. And we have this option called constrain. What it will do is it will lock the width and the height proportions, and then when you scale it, it generally keeps that proportions intact. So you can use that constraint tool for that. We have this nice perspective distort tool, which is basically used to create a perspective sort of drawing here. Okay, so you can generally use all sides and get that vanishing effect, gives you that third dimension to your 2D illustration. So this is basically used to create nice perspective drawings. The other one we have here is this one, which is free distort. Just select that, and it will allow me to move that particular point without affecting the other 3 points there. You could see that I can generally move it freely and then place it anywhere, and maybe, as I said, you can give that feeling of third dimension here. So as if this illustration is on a wall, and this is the nearest wall, and that's the farthest one. So these additional controls you have here, and we have a puppet warp tool. Okay, puppet warp tool has got this nice pins here. Already when I've selected, it has automatically placed them. So you need to select that particular pin and just drag it. Just click and drag it. Okay, so this is mostly used on characters, and you place it on the legs and hands, and then when you click and drag, the hand or leg will possibly rotate there. So to add more points, you need to click anywhere on this illustration and then just drag it like that. Okay, so if I select that pin, and in the circle, if I click and drag, it basically rotates that whole affected mesh. Just click that and then rotate it. Click to add a point and drag it. Click, drag it. So you can add more points to take control over the illustration. So it's like distorting your image, but in a more controlled way. Okay, so these are very simple tools and quite helpful though. In this video, we'll have a look on this tool called Shape Builder. You can use a keyboard shortcut of Shift M here. So right now I've got a different primitive shapes created in different colors. I'm selecting these shapes and I'm just using this Shape Builder tool. Just I need to select them, and then when you hover the cursor over the shapes, it identifies the shape into different shapes, where the overlapping shapes are also identified here. The common shape which between these two overlapping shapes, you can select them and you could see these all are the shapes which I can identify. The identified shape is in dotted grid or dotted line here. So that gives us identification of that shape selection. So if you see, I've got a magenta and cyan color shapes overlapped here. Just from the magenta, I'm just dragging it and then ending up, and this shape is like very freeform type. So when I just drag it, you see the first box color has been applied to the second shape here. If I do the opposite way, you get the cyan getting into that effect. So this is something really cool about this. So it takes the color of what you have selected first and then applies to the second one. Let's say in the color swatch, if I pick a color which is basically more of aqua color, and then double click here and then pick color from color swatch, if I choose that, and then when I click and drag, it takes that aqua color which I have got in the color swatch here. So that's how you can get colors using the Shape Builder setting here. So you have a nice feature here called gap detection. Okay, so gap detection generally identifies if any gap here. If I just switch it on, and then when I go here, you should see these white spaces are also identified as shapes here. If you could carefully observe, there's a gap between these two shapes here. So it's not generally Shape Builder only applies for the overlap shapes, but if you could see, there is a gap between this shape and this shape, and this is getting identified here. That's something really cool about it. So if I can just drag and then hover through all these shapes, it becomes one single shape there. like that. So something really cool about it. So we have this straight line option. Okay, so what that really does is when I drag it generally gives me a straight line here. It's not a free form thing. Before that I just select all of them and then apply it. So that will work like that. So here we have the color swatch. I'll just put it back to artwork. This is a free form. Consider open filled path as closed. Okay, what that actually means is, let's say if I have created a shape which is basically a pen tool, and then I just create I just select it, and then for visibility purpose I'll increase the stroke. Okay, now select all of them and then shape builder. Now if you could see, this is a open shape but still identified as the shape here, like that. If you see, it's not working here, it's only working here. It's not identifying the shape at all in this particular area, and the reason is we have switched this consider open filled path as the closed one. Now you could see it's working, so I can just drag and create a shape there, or using alt you can subtract it here. So generally what this alt tool does is, generally when I select all the shapes and then choose the shape builder, hold alt will subtract the shapes from, like, it's like A minus B. So this shape gets subtracted from here. But if you want intersection, you hold alt minus this, you hold alt minus this. So it will keep the common point between these two shapes here, intersecting area, I can say. In merge mode, clicking stroke splits the path. I'll show a different example here. So I just move it. I just delete it. I select these two shapes here and then increase the stroke value, and then make sure that I've not used the fill there. Let's keep it like that. Now I just hold the shape builder, double click, merge mode. In the merge mode, clicking stroke splits the path. So just I need to click that stroke. Okay, that's it, and then I can click this one. What happens is, when I select the stroke, I'll switch out the fill color, highlight stroke when editable. I'll change it to green. So you should see that has split the shape here. How about this? It's also split. So you can do that way using that feature. So what I've done is to put this into one place. So I've created this shape here. I've actually used a logo, which is a Google logo. So I've got this shape here. I've traced out this shape just by keeping that there. So what you could see is one shape is like that. Maybe I can select all of them and then switch off the color, increase the stroke value. You should see all the shapes here. So I'll just undo it and bring back all the colors. Now I select all of them here. Okay, I think I select this one, not really required. Okay, I select all of them, use the shape builder tool. Okay, this is not required at all. I just say okay, enable the fill. Okay, now what I do is I just subtract all these areas. So I hold Alt and then remove it like that. Remove it, remove it, remove, remove. So you should see I've just subtracted it by holding Alt, and all that shapes have gone. Now this blue color area I want to merge it, so I hold, I need not to hold anything, just drag it and then you get it there. Okay, so I need to select that. Okay, now just need to select and then change the color like that. Now select all the shapes, switch off the stroke, and there you go, you have got a logo in a very simple way, just using shape builder. So you can create apply this tool in different possible ways, and maybe creating logos and abstract designs and all. Explore this tool. In this video, let's have a look on this tool called Live Paint Bucket tool. So what I've got here right now in the scene is a simple JPEG image. This is a clip art which I've downloaded from internet, and then just from the browser you just drag it here and then you get this image at this point. Now once I've got this, this is just a simple bitmap image what I have got with me. So what I need to do is convert this bitmap image into the vector illustration. I mean, it is in raster form, so I need to convert into the vector. So I'm going to choose this tool called object image trace and choose this feature make and expand. So what that will do is it will create a vector illustration. It's a black and white illustration with all the paths created for the drawing, and it has roughly understood this text here, and then it's completely a compound shape. So I need to just select that object, right click and then ungroup it, and then you have this white background created. I'm just deleting that, and also I've got this text on the below, select and delete it. Now select everything here and then again group it. Now this becomes one piece of illustration, a vector illustration. Just select that and then just scale if required. So we have this tool called shape builder tool. Just click and drag and then find this live paint bucket tool, and then you can hover the cursor onto any of this patch here, and then when we click you get the color stroke. It's not getting, so for that I need to select and then choose it. Then you can able to fill the color in that. Now the color what I'm getting here is from the color swatch which is there in the toolbox. Let's say if I want to get a different range of colors selected, so what I need to do is I need to open the color swatch which is here, or you can go to Windows and then find color swatches, you make it on, you get it here like that. Now you select any of the color like that, and then your cursor has got three boxes if you could see carefully, and what it is showing is left, right and middle colors which are there here. So if I select that, you can see that neighboring colors there. If I select this, you get that three neighboring colors, two neighboring colors of that selected color swatch. You can use left and right arrows to change whichever is there in the middle is the color which I'm going to fill on the stroke here. So in which particular stroke this color is going to be filled, the total stroke is now highlighted in the green color, and that is because when I double click here, you get the color green with a width of 4 point here. You can change that to anything you like, and also you can reduce the point there, and which will actually give me that color and that thickness which I have picked there. So the style which is there here in the color swatch has been applied to this just by clicking like that. So I can just select any of the colors and then just fill it. And if you double click this particular color swatch, what it will do is it will fill the strokes which are maybe attached, but like this particular stroke, I'll just select it. Just a slightly overlap it, okay? Now let me try it again, and then choose the live paint and then choose some orange color. When I click it, it gives me orange color, but when double click, that should fill that. I think it's not showing up. Let me see. Yeah, pick it, double click. Generally something which is really close will get that affected, and let me try it once again. Select the whole stroke, whole design there, and then select that, double click. I'm really sorry. Yeah, you could see that this color has been filled here. When I just single click it, it was giving that color on that particular patch, but here it's as it is very close. Double click, it's behaving unpredictable. You see that here it happened. You see that carefully. Double click, it gives that color to that neighbor. Generally a single click will give only to this patch, but when I click it 2 times, okay, it generally fills to that particular patch also. So that's a double click feature. But if I generally select any color and click it 3 times, 1, 2, 3, so all the black colors are now became, you know, orange. I've clicked it 3 times. Okay, let me choose a cyan. If you see carefully, 1, 2, 3, and here a pick gradient 1, 2, 3. So you get that colors filled by triple click. So very similar to that, we have when I double click on the live paint bucket tool, you have the paint fill. I can enable paint stroke option. Okay, so I just select that, and now when I should generally pick a color and increase the stroke. Okay, now when I go and then select that, I just go closer, paint selection tool, the cursor keeps changing here. Let's say if I'm hovering this on the face of the shape, it's showing me the paint bucket, but when I hover this on the path, it's showing a brush. Okay, just double click it. Okay, so you can see that all strokes applied to the shape here. So this is like you have this paint software, and you got paint bucket tool, and you start filling all that stroke. It's like you painted something with sketch pen in your school assignments, the primary school assignments. There's a cartoon and then you need to fill with sketch pen. So it's like that. Okay, so live paint tool works like this. It makes your life a bit easier when it comes to creating illustrations. So that's how you can convert a simple bitmap image into a vector illustrations using both the tools. One was like your image trace, make and expand, and the other one is the live paint bucket tool. So hope you liked it. Thank you. In this video, let's have a look on the perspective tools inside Illustrator. So perspective tools are basically used to apply the concepts of perspective drawing. These are generally the techniques used to create drawings in different perspective views, more popularly known as 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. It is basically a topic related to viewing a scene in a point of view, which has basically again vanishing points, horizons, and all that stuff. You can generally explore 1-point, 2-point, 3-point perspective drawing techniques inside in internet, and that techniques, once you know, you can apply that in Illustrator. So to start with, you can generally search in toolbar and you have this perspective grid tool. So right now this grid is generally showing up 2-point perspectives, and this is basically having a floor, and it has got a horizon and 2 vanishing points. So this grid what you got is a 2-point perspective view. So you can move that horizon to any view. Let's say if the horizon is on the lower side, you are actually seeing maybe a building from the ground, and you're seeing towards the sky basically. So if you just drag this up, then you are seeing a building from maybe a helicopter. So you are generally, your position, your eye level has gone above the ground into the sky, whereas when I move the horizon, the point of view is from the ground to the sky. And if I put it in the middle, generally it's like you're seeing the space at the ground at the eye level. You're not seeing towards the sky or towards the ground, you're seeing towards the eye level. So that's how you can generally place this point. And also you have some handles where you can position your planes. You have basically 2 planes here, and also you can drag the position of this and this. It's from the height and the bottom. You can also change the vanishing point. Let's say if I generally put this closer, if you are aware of this concept of focal length and the vanishing effect, so to define the focal length, you can maybe adjust these points and create that illustrations. So you get a widget here where you can select a particular plane, and then you can say I want to draw something on the ground, or I want to draw something on this side of the box or the plane. So if you just go to the view option, and then in perspective, you can generally change your your grid into a 1-point perspective. You can also change it to a 2-point perspective and a 3-point perspective. So this is you can also do from the define grid options, and you can change it to 1-point perspective, and you can also change it for, to a 2-point perspective. Okay, so once the grid is there, you can generally place all the drawing elements onto that particular grid. So let's say right now the grid is on, so I'm just selecting the draw tool. Just need to click and drag over the grid, and then you should be able to see I'm trying to create a rectangular shape onto the grid here. Okay, so when I thought I was drawing on this, but it came on here. The reason is it is selected like that. I mean, that plane is selected. If I select this one and then maybe change this to a lighter color and then draw, then you are drawing onto the opposite side like that. And you can also select this particular shape using the perspective selection tool, and then you can generally move it and scale it precisely. So you can generally create more complex shapes. Okay, so I'm creating a star. I select this plane and then reduce it. I can hold shift to perfectly angle. If not, it's like that. Okay, so maybe I can just adjust it later using the selection tool like that. You can be more precise if you wanted it to be like that. So you can create complex drawings using this perspective tools. You can also use the text tool, and then you can generally add this text. Over to that particular plane. So I'm using the perspective selection tool there. Okay, so you can hide this the grid by pressing Shift Control I, and you can get that grid visibility on and off. Let's have a look on this gradient mesh tools in Illustrator. For that, I would like to create some shapes. So let's start with ellipse tool and then draw ellipse shape here. If I hold shift, you may get a circle. So I just draw a circle and leave it there. Maybe I can just change the color of that circle. So I'm just picking some nice orange, yellowish color. Maybe orange should do good. So that's a good start. So what I do is I would like to select this ellipse, which is a closed path. You can use any of the other shapes also for this to work. So select that, go to object, and then choose this tool called gradient mesh. So when you do that, the model has the shape what we have created earlier has got some vertical and horizontal grid. Generally it is just like a polygonal model. The shape between these lines is called mesh patch, and this is mesh point. So mesh point is basically having tangents in it. So first what we will do is we will just select that rows count, and then we can increase or decrease that like that. So I'm adding a 5 and 5 points here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the appearance. Right now it is flat, change it to the center. So what happens is a white color is been filled in the center and going out to the color which we have picked in the edges. And when I choose the edge, it works reverse, and then I can generally control the rows and columns again upon the requirement. So we have this highlight percentage, which is the amount of color what we have got here, the white color. So I'm going to choose this to center so that you get this. So once the gradient mesh is created, I can just say OK, and then you got this nice gradient mesh. So what that actually does is it gives you a control over placing colors throughout the shape here. So to make this gradient mesh work, I select this tool called mesh tool, and then I can able to select that point and move it anywhere I wanted to move it. So it's like a normal path in Illustrator. Just you need to hold and move it like that. You can also control the handles there and take a specific control over the shape. One more thing is, like when you are holding shift and dragging that point, so that point will move over the line. I mean, let's say if I'm moving up and down, this point will travel over that curve here like that. And that works for the side, the row also, which was working earlier for the column. So I can move that way, and also I can hold Alt and delete that point from there. Just hold Alt and just click it like that. So what is I have right now is every point is now colorized with something. So for example, I can select that and then double click and then change the color to white, and that area has become white color. Let's say if I select this one and then change that color to green, and then you get green color there. So you can, colorize every part of this shape just with the gradient mesh. So there are two uses. One is you can modify this shape, and also you can affect a part of the shape with the color. So I can use this lasso selection tool. I can hold shift and then select all that points like that. Okay, so you have selected more than one point by holding shift and then you can change that color to something more dark like that. You can select the other points here like that, and then change that color to more yellowish. Okay, so let's say if I've selected this point, I can hold color picker, eyedropper tool, and then pick that color, and I can generally apply that color there. So I can select the other points here, maybe like that, and then just try to make it more reddish and dark color to give that nice control over the shape. So you could able to see that I have just created a button, like a round shaped button like thing here with a elliptical path shape. So let's try checking whether if it works for another shape here. So select that object, go to object, and then apply mesh, and you see it works there. So it doesn't work for the text, and it also doesn't work when you have more than two shapes like that. Okay, so it applies maybe individually, but it doesn't work as a collective object until you make it as one piece of shape. Let's say I do this, and let me try this again, whether if it's working or not. As you could see, the lines are traveling through the shape here as one single object. Again, you can modify them as your requirement. So this is gradient mesh. Let's say if I don't want to use gradient mesh tool, which is listed here, rather you can select any shape. Like I was creating an ellipse, I'll go there, and then what I can do is select this particular gradient mesh tool and click anywhere on the path which you have created, and you have created a line there. So manually you can able to place more lines there. Also you can hold Alt and then remove them if you don't want it to be on that area. So as I told you, just I need to select the lasso tool and then double click and then change the color, and there you go, you got a nice 3D looking shape there. You can create more highlights, and you can the tip for this is you don't add too many lines, which makes your scene very heavy. So avoid doing that while you're using this gradient mesh tool. Let's say if I have created a ellipse shape here, and then I've applied a gradiency to it. Okay, so I just select the center gradient, and then I choose the colors there like this. I mean, maybe I'll take a brown color here, and then some warm color, and then edit gradient, and then so if you have created a similar shape using gradient tool, and now you want to take control over the colors after you have created, you can go to object and go to the object and then choose this feature called expand, and then here I'll enable this gradient mesh and then say OK. Then once you have created this, if you go to the mesh tool and then select it, you should able to see the gradients what has been created now converted into a mesh tool, where you can just modify this like that. So existing gradient turns into so for spherical it's not really great, but it generally converts into this gradiency. So one is you can apply the gradient mesh which is here, and the other one is like manually apply the gradiency with the mesh tool. Okay, and one more method is like you can select existing gradient and then go to object and then say expand and convert into a gradient mesh. So there are different ways how you can able to create this gradient mesh and create fantastic illustrations. Okay, you can generally make more interesting things out of it. So I just select it and then just give some gray color and then put it there. I just move it backward. Okay, so I can just take Alt and then make it smaller just to create more sense of depth, and send it to back like that. So you create some nice 3D effect there. This video, let's have a look on gradient tool. So to explore more about gradient tool, I would like to create some shape here. So let's take a star here, just hold shift and drag it and then just place it in the center. That should be fine. So what I do is right now I've got a white color fill and black color stroke, which you can generally change it to something else in fill and also in the stroke color also. So what I'm going to do here is select the star, and we have this tool called gradient, and then just click it and then click it there. So that will be applied onto this particular shape. It can be any path, any closed shape which you have created, and you get the color applied to it. So if I just go to this particular area and find out gradient, you get some options here which you can use and create more types of gradient colors. So defaultly it has created a black and white gradient. I can click on this drop down and then change it to yellowish orange red color gradient. I can go for fadey sky and I can create a vignette effect. So you have some preset colors here, and not only that, you can generally go to this section here called swatches, and then you have the same thing applied, the black and white, the orange yellow, the blue, the fading sky, and the vignette gradient. All that's there here in the swatches. And also you can click these three lines and then go to open swatch library, and here you have a lot of presets where you can pick colors from. In that, generally if I choose beverages, you get a color swatches just for a color palette for the reference, whereas if I click into the gradient section, you will have a lot of different types of gradients. Let's say if I choose the sky, then you get a lot of sky gradients which you can generally apply, okay, onto this shape. So you have all that beautiful colors what you see in the sky, from the afternoon sky to the evening sky and all. So you can also explore more in gradients. You can maybe go for foliage, and then you get the foliage colors there. So you can explore all that different types of colors what we have got here. and then apply onto your shapes. I'll just go back to the gradient here. You have three types of gradients here. So right now you are in the linear gradient. You can choose it from here also. Okay, I just wanted to create select some color harmonies, which it would be some vibrant color gradient. So I just pick something from there. Okay, and then I will go back to the gradients here. So this is linear gradient. Okay, right now in the canvas, what you are able to see is the gradient A notator, on which it's like a bar, and on which you have the color stops, and you can select them and then edit the color stops there. So you can select on both sides of this gradient A notator, just drag it, and then you can change the position of that particular gradient A notator like that. Okay, so no matter where you are moving, the effect of the gradient doesn't change. But if I change it to left, it's really working, because there's no point if I move it up or move it down, the effect of the gradient doesn't show anyhow. That's the reason I'm able to move on the left and right comfortably like that. Okay, but when I move it up or down, it's not really working. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select I go to the opposite side here, and then just try to move this cursor, and you could see some rotation, and then you can able to rotate it. Okay, now if I generally move it, it should work moving from there like that. So up and down is working because there's some sense if I move it, because it's an angle, and you can rotate it in whichever angle you wanted it to be. And also you can scale this gradient A notator like that. And there is a mid handle here, midpoint. I can select that and try to control the blend between these blue and orange colors like that. So this is basically the gradient. You can also try exploring this gradient in this gradient palette itself. So I can, if I want to change the color of this particular color stop, I need to double click that, and then you get a color picker here. So the first one is like RGB sliders. You note that I can make a red color just by increasing the red value and reducing the green and blue. And if I want yellow, I need to increase the red and the green completely, and it becomes yellow. And you want orange, it should be midway in the green. So in similar fashion, if you are very much aware of RGB values, you can just explore that. Okay, or you can go to this color picker and then keep changing the colors. You have the value going vertical, and let's say if I go upside, it's brighter. If I go downside, it's darker like that. And if I go to the left and right, it keeps changing the hue of that particular color. And you have opacity, and if I change the opacity to 0%, generally, you know what happens here, that part of the object becomes transparent. Okay, you could see that it's now transparent there. And the reason is you have changed the opacity here to 0%. Okay, when I move this particular color stop, you could see the location is keep changing here like that. And also the rotation of this can be affected by just entering numeric values there. Okay, that's how you can edit this color picker here. And I can click this button reverse, which means let's say if you see here, I've got pink on this side and orange on this side. If I click this button, it swaps orange to the right and to the left whenever I just keep clicking it. Okay, and you have the other gradient type, which is basically the radial gradient. Okay, radial gradient, again I can just select that particular handle. I can move it anywhere I wanted like that, and here also I can scale that particular gradient handle. This is for scaling, and then when I move the cursor, it rotates. Again, rotates doesn't make any difference, okay, until you change the position to off center a little bit, okay. And again, you can change the color stop position there, and you can also scale that however you wanted it to be. You can also make it soften, as you could see, like that. So it gives a very beautiful transition there. So this is radial gradient, and you can select on the sides here and scale the radius, and here if you click, it will become a elliptical shape gradient here. And if you want to control the ellipse shape, you can go here and then change the percentage to 100 to make it clear circle. If I put it to 50, then it becomes the circle that way, okay. Like that. So that's basically the radial gradient. And if I just go to the last one, this is freeform gradient. So freeform gradient is a very unique type of gradient you have got, which has got this color points here. You can select that, and then when you select that points here, and you can double click, and then you can change the colors as you wanted it to be. And if I just wanted it green, I can change it to green. If I want it to be blue, I can change it to blue. Anything you wanted, just change that colors and you get it there, okay. So once you select this particular point, and you can relocate that, you can move the position anywhere you wanted. You can also increase the radius of that point like that, okay. If I hold this point and drag outside the path, it is deleted there, okay. And if you want to add more points here, let's say I've got 1 2 3 4 5, so I can select click anywhere here in this hand of the star, just click there and you got a point here. Click here, you got another point. You can double click, you can change the color. Click in the center, double click, change the color to cyan. So you could see you have picked different colors on different sides of the object here, okay. So it's a very you have a greater level of control while you're doing this thing, okay. So you could see you have the spread option. You can increase the spread or decrease the spread, which you are able to do here interactively in the canvas itself, like that, okay. And you can also change opacity, where you can make that part of the object transparent, okay. So you can select any particular point and then hit this delete stop button, which is a color stop as we were talking. So you can click that, and then you can again change it to something else, like that, okay. You have these points, and also you have lines here. You can select the lines, click, 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 and it gives me a path of colors here. You can select that particular point. Creating, moving, deleting a color stop that causes one or more paths to intersect is not supported. Actually, it can be moved. I don't know why it's not moving. So you can select that, and you can change the color. As I told you, again, it's as simple as the points method only. You can drag that outside and it gets deleted, or you can use the keyboard shortcut, which is delete button on the delete keyboard, and that gets deleted. You want to add a point, just click on that, it adds more points there. But make sure that you are not adding too many points, as it can, make the scene more heavier. So gradients are very useful way of coloring your objects. So what I've done is I've downloaded one illustration from internet. I will share that link in the description. So what I've got here is a simple illustration. You might be worrying, where is this illustration here in this particular canvas? I'd like to go to view and then say Control Y, outline. Then you should be able to see these outlines of the illustration what I've got. You can bring it back, and I've purposefully made it to single color, but let's put a nice gradient onto this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the background here. Okay, click the gradient button and you get the gradient here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the color swatches, click there and open gradients and then choose sky. You got a lot of skies here. I'm going to select this sky, looks nicer, so select that. It looks warm evening, or maybe I want some bluish sky. I'll not make it complicated, let's keep it nice blue. Let me try this. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this gradient and edit gradient here. Okay, so you can directly enter 90 degrees here, and then you can scale the so you can nicely scale and create that nice sunset here. Okay, you can also control the way colors are going on here. That's nice. And now I'm going to select one of this cloud and then go to the gradient style. Okay, and then I don't have anything like clouds as such. I'm just checking if I've got anything as clouds. No, let me see if neutrals are there. Okay, we have neutrals, so I'm going to select that neutral and then pick this nice color. Okay, maybe this or this. I'll pick this one, and then I'll go to the edit gradient. Okay, and choose 90 degrees like that. So I can that should look nice. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one, use the color picker or eyedropper and select that, and it should give the same gradient here. Okay, let me undo. First I need to select it, select color picker, click there. Okay, then select this one, color picker, click, select color picker, click. That's nice. So I select all of them at a time and then rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, so you got that nice beautiful clouds, and we have I'll go to the swatches, then again go to the open swatch library, gradients, and we have foliage here. Select that and I'm going to choose this foliage here. Okay, and then keep adding that foliage here like that. Okay, I'm just seeing what all there here. Maybe I can just choose a different one here. Okay, so I've got all these backgrounds nicely selected here. Just I need to select, go to the edit gradient or just enter 90 degrees, and that gives the rotation because it's coming side by side, and it's not separating the background. So I'm just changing that values. Okay, that's really nice. And now I can select all this Actually there looks like a group, so I'm just I mean the branch and the leaves, they look like a group, so just wanted to okay. So you got that nice plants placed behind. You can try more in this illustration. Let's okay, I need to select that, use color picker, add that. There is some shape, color picker, add this one, color picker, add. I think this trees look different green than the background, and it makes look odd, but okay, you can just explore the colors. And I will select this shape tool, add an ellipse tool, just try to add ellipse there, and then I'll go to the swatches, then go to the open swatch library, gradients, and choose brights. Let me pick this one. I know it's out of the sky is blue and this looks very hard. It's okay, just have some fun. Maybe I can choose a white color, and this one slightly bluish. Okay, so just explore the possibilities of this. It's not going back. Arrange, go, send back. Arrange, bring it front. Okay, now it's working. I can just put it there in the frame so that you can see something beautiful there. Okay, so gradients, just explore and have fun. Creating shapes is again, you can create using any of your drawings and fill the colors. Solid colors make it look boring, but if you add gradient, it gives that nice sense of depth. Okay, hope you liked it. Thank you very much. In this video, let's have a look on this tool called eyedropper tool. So eyedropper tool is like just a color picker tool, but let's have a look on this, how it is unique in Adobe Illustrator. For that, I would like to create a shape, and then I would like to change the color of that particular shape, and also change the stroke, and then give a stroke value, okay, which is basically having some unique style in it. Okay, let's say if you have created another shape which you know, I'll just keep it a simple white color for convenience. So now what I do is I'm going to create a star, and then hold shift and drag to create the star there. You could see the star has been created here, but the star has white color fill, and it doesn't have stroke, and it doesn't have any thickness at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this eyedropper tool, or I can use a keyboard shortcut of I, and then just click on this particular shape, and it will take that all style which has been applied to that, and it will apply here. Okay, let's say I select this one and then apply this floral pattern here. Now if I have to get that one, just the same thing will be applied here. That's how it generally works. What if I hold shift and then click here? So it generally color picks, it doesn't, you know, picks the style, but wherever you have sampled the eyedropper, that color will be applied to the fill of this particular shape. So normal clicking will generally get the style, whereas hold shift will do this one. Okay, if for example if I hold alt and then click here, and then what it will do is it will rather picking this style and applying here, it will do reverse. When I press alt, it will pick this style and apply it there. So it's working basically a reverse of that. If I double click the eyedropper, and you should able to see whenever I just click there, let's say that particular point is where the source this information will be received, but you can change the sample size to 3 by 3 or 5 by 5 pixels, which basically the sample area. So what is that it should pick and what it should apply? You can enable that. You don't want it to pick the transparency, you can basically disable that. You can avoid focal fill, you can avoid color and all that. So you got that exclusive control on this eyedropper tool there. So eyedropper tool is generally used to apply the styles like that. Let's try to work on a different thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the text in this case. So take the text tool, then I'm going to apply a font. So let's pick this font, or maybe this one. Let me try. Okay, this font. Okay, and then change the color to yellow, and then apply the stroke to red, and also increase the stroke there. That looks nice. I just increase the size there. Okay, now I pick the text here. Okay, so I just let's say I pick a different font here. Okay, whatever, and then keep it there. So now when I pick the eyedropper and then select that, it generally takes that character which is font, it takes the size, it takes the fill, it takes the stroke, and it applies to your work. So you have any reference style you have created for any typography, and you need not apply one and one on your text. Rather, you can just pick your eyedropper and then just click and you get the result. How simple is that? So this eyedropper is definitely a time saver, I can say, because you can generally apply the same thing manually one by one, but this will generally click away, applies the effect. In this video, let's have a look on the blend tool. So to explore this tool, first I need to create some shapes. So I would like to create some simple primitives here. So I'll take a rectangle shape here, just draw there. It has got yellow color fill and red color stroke. Now just go and then create a star here, and then I'll change the color of this to something blue, and then stroke I'll pick a dark green. I don't know how good the color is, but I'll just do that. So I just got these two shapes here. So I select the blend tool, click on the first shape, and then select the second one. Then you should able to see it has created a blend there. So I'll double click to take control over the way this blend is happening. So double click. So it is generally picking smooth color, and then you have two types of orientations of this particular transition. As there is a path here, and the alignment of this stroke is what you could see, but it's not showing much effect. I'll show you in different shape in the next example. So I just choose specified steps here, and there are 254. I'll just put it to 10. Then you should able to see from the square yellow color to the star blue color, the transitioning of this shape happening, and there is also a change in the color. Okay, so I put 10. If I put 5, then you get 1 2 3 4 5 points in the middle of this transition, and you have a specified distance, which is basically the distance between one copy and the other copy. So I'm just increasing this mm, which generally controlling the distance between one copy to the other copy. So I put a 30 mm distance, and it's really working, and you should be able to see the result happening there. So I was talking about the way this orientation is. For that, what I'm going to do is I'll just undo it, and then I'm going to select and create a unique shape here, which is again, I just select the green color in this case, and then I just got 3 objects like that. Now I select the blend tool. Okay, just deselect everything, select the blend tool, click on the first one, then select second, then third. So you should be able to see there is a transition there. So I can select that middle one, and then maybe I can select the direct selection tool and then move it, and then I can convert that like that. Then you should be able to see some nice path going on there. Now I double click it, and then I will change the steps to 25. Then you should be able to see there's a smooth transition going on from the square to the polygon to the star, and then you should see the way the orientation is affecting throughout the curve. So it's like the orientation is affected by the curvature of the path. So it's really nice effect what you could see between them. So that's really interesting about this blend tool. You can create amazing effects while you are able to, you know, generally it becomes more complicated when if you have to do this manually. So blend tool is a greater help there. So let me try, and before going into that, if you select this object, it's an individual piece of object. It's not showing up as like cube, selection, separate, polygon and star. It's just like an object like that. But you use a direct selection tool, and you can maybe control the way things are happening. You can move the points, you can edit the handles. It's like control is generally achieved by the other tool, but if you select the move tool, it's one piece of object which you have got. So what I'm going to do here is try this with the text tool. Let me try this one, and also choose the font. I'll just preferably keep a very thin font. Okay, and then reduce the font size like that, and also change the color to something blue like that, and then I will duplicate this and then change the font to blend. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select and then change it to a darker color and then put it below. Maybe I select these two and then align them. Now I select this blend tool, select the range, and then click on the blend, and then you get the transition happening. So it's changing that text in between, and then also you can increase the distance here like that, and you see it really it changes the text shape also, which is there in between. So from blend it's going to the range. So it is very useful when you are creating beautiful background patterns. Let me give it a try on creating something out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a rectangle and then create a shape like that, and then I'm going to apply a gradient which we have learned in our previous video. Okay, and then select that to something blue. Now select this one, I select a dark blue, double click, something closer, and then more darker. Okay, that gives a really nice background here. Okay, let's leave that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pen tool. Okay, and then I'm going to draw a nice path like that. Okay, I hit escape, and then I select that path, okay, and change the stroke to the gradient, okay, and increase the stroke value. You should be able to see that stroke, okay. I select that stroke and then I would oh sorry, I need to select the stroke and then select the um, strokes control here. There is some transparency. I am going to pick some bright color there, and this one opacity is 0. I'll put it to 100% and then double click and then change it to some dark blue. Let's see how it looks. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so I've got nice stroke. I will duplicate that to the bottom. Now select this both strokes and then first I need to choose a blend tool, click on the first stroke and then select the second one. It's not working, so let me. Okay, I've logged it. Again I'll try once again. Yeah, the selection was like pretty sensitive. Double click and then choose the distance and then increase the distance there like that. As you could see, you got two curves here. I can select the direct selection tool, okay, and I can maybe adjust that transition. And here I select the bottom one and then I'll move this one like that. And then you should be able to see that nice background going on here. Okay, so a blend tool is like it generally helps you to create unique patterns, and